So, oh my God, ERRF2019, East Coast RepRap Festival. What a year! Oh my God, it's been so much has happened in the last year, both in technology, certainly in software and firmware. We've seen a lot of crazy new developments with companies coming and going through all kinds of trials and tribulations. I don't think that's going to stop, so this will be another typical year for us, I think. But for Marlin, it has been just a whirlwind. We've just been getting so much attention and so much interest in the project. We've had to, had a lot of cause to add and refine a lot of features. And I'm going to talk to you about some of that stuff today. So before I get started, I'd like to thank ERRF for inviting us, and I'd like to thank Cruiser Research for funding our trip. We wouldn't be here and able to do this without their help, so I really appreciate that. I'd like to also thank some people whose names you might not know, who are sort of the people behind the scenes who are actually working on the firmware. I know we all like to celebrate the reviewers and the people on YouTube that we know and love so well, but these guys who are a lot shyer, who are really in the trenches, deserve a big thanks and I think a lot of appreciation. So I'd like to just throw out a few names for the record, since this might be getting recorded on that. We've got David Menzel through Tiny Machines, and through his own effort has been providing a lot of really great stuff. Chris Pepper, who is partly responsible for a lot of the STM32 stuff, and he actually works within the STM32 core project to get along, so we're sort of working really well together. I'd like to thank Ivan Kravitz, the creator of Platform.io, for all his incredible work, and just getting that together so we don't have to think too hard to make things build. There's a lot of really good stuff coming out of that, which we're going to talk about soon. Tanguy Prouvat, if I've got that name right. I just want to throw these names out. Tim Moore, Julian Lazaro, Roxanne Neufeld, Moxie3D has been a great resource and support. And Marcio Teixeira, who was just recently laid off of LF Objects, has been a really great help. Just got in some really cool new features, so I'll talk about those in a little bit too. So today, I'm actually really excited to announce the release of Marlin 2.0. It's going to be really soon. Really soon. So we got a few things to iron out. But we have these really cool shirts. That's a huge step forward for us, actually, just to be able to show our logo to the world proudly. The new features include, well, right now we've got support for 8 architectures, more than 150 different boards, configurations for over 120 machines, more than 50 LCD controllers and touchscreens, 26 languages, including now Vietnamese. You can build it with Arduino IDE and Platform.io, and that's becoming more easy all the time thanks to our auto build, which is an extension you can install in Visual Studio Code to go along with Platform.io, and figures out how to build your stuff just from your motherboard, and it may look at some other settings too in the future. We support now up to 6 extruders, and we've got future plans to basically get rid of that kind of number. Just like to say, assign an axis, call it X, X2, X3, X4, X5, keep going. That's just, that's future stuff. I'll talk about that soon. We have more configurable boot and status screens. We've put some, games in there, really in part to, just have something fun on your printer as an Easter egg, but also to kind of demonstrate, that the processor has a lot more power than you're using so far. So you can actually play Space Invaders while you're printing. We have support for interesting different kinds of tool changers, including an electromagnetic switching tool head. So really good for things like the 3D tool changer. We have now multi-language support, which has been a huge contribution from Aleph Objects, Spot. Heated chamber support with thermal shutdown and protection. Triple Z stepper drivers. Again, we're going to have 4, but again, we're going to try and get rid of that whole idea. Just have many. Backlash compensation is now in the firmware, so if you have some kind of situation where your belts are loose or your drivetrain has got some kind of predictable slop, you can compensate for that. We have much improved stepper driver configuration. You simply tell it that your X stepper is a TMC 2130 and your Y stepper is a 2208 and so on, and it just figures out what to do for all your steppers. Junction deviation is now the default. We no longer support or like jerk. So if you were using jerk, stop that. Don't be a jerk. Switch to junction deviation. I'd like to mention again, it's worth mentioning, we have S-curve acceleration, which accelerates your acceleration. So it starts out accelerating slowly, ramps up to a proper acceleration, slows down, and gives you a somewhat less jerky motion. So you might be able to put a glass of beer on your print bed while it's printing, if we tune it. We have support for VL Touch 3, the Touche Moi probe, or Touch Me probe, which is the rack and pinion probe, which, if you know what those are, if you care. Yay! Rack and pinion probe, finally. We have this thing called extra probing, which is just, if you like, you've got a somewhat unreliable probe and you want to do 5 probes and take the best 3, you can do that. Rep wrappers. Service periods. We now track how long you've been using your printer, and you have the option to set up service periods where we'll remind you to clean this and fix that and tighten this every so many prints. We have turbo back menu item, which is a big deal. A lot of people were annoyed because if you hit back, it would be highlighting the menu item you were on before, and some people just wanted to go back to the first screen. So we got that. We've optimized a lot of stuff, including SD card sorting, steppings. All the stepping stuff is just really overhauled. As we're looking to the future, we're working on unlimited extruders and unlimited linear axes, hopefully by the end of the year. We would love to get CAN bus support completed. We started on that. And also running on the Duet boards. We started on that, but we have a little bit more to go. We are looking to expand a bit in our development efforts and make things easier for people who contribute, and also to find information. So we're creating an online database for pinouts, language translations, and configuration options, so that we can basically get that stuff sorted out online and just bring it in an organized way. We are going to be incorporating a configuration tool into Visual Studio Code that works with Visual Studio Code, so that you can just simply go through your configuration step by step and not have to go read those ugly files all the time. We're also going to be splitting up the configurations into more files by category. That's coming up just to kind of make it easier to find the settings you want, ignore the ones you don't care about. And yeah, that's pretty much the essence of our plans for the next year. And as we go forward with that, hopefully, we'll make everything better. We're also looking to expand our setup where we're doing development and sort of make that a little more formal, get our database, our debugging tools in order, work out, just our processes and techniques and things, and get those more sorted out and make things better for developers. I'd like to mention we now have a Discord channel and a Facebook group, so those have been really huge, but also kind of a big time sink for me, and sometimes a little annoying since people are really, in the social network world, are not necessarily on the same. Is that what I'm looking for? Well, anyway, we have the same priorities as we in the development side. So hopefully the developments we're making now and for the upcoming year will make this firmware a lot easier, simpler to use, For my part, I'm like really wiped out, so I'm ready to call this talk over and just ask if you have any questions, and then I'm going to go back and start working on cleaning up some bugs, and carry on for the next 12 months and see where we are next year. So, yes. We're going to need microphones for questions. The formal release will be very soon. Right now, we've been hoping to get a, basically something which is not getting the bug reports. So there's a lot of sort of scrubbing we have to do, which is, I guess, what I'm trying to say is I'm not quite sure, because there's some stuff I'm trying to figure out right now to just clean up some last minute issues. You never know how long this will take, but I'm pretty certain it won't be much longer. Let's say, what's today? I'm anticipating the end of the month. I think it's doable. Yeah.
Okay, Steve.
Professor?
Hey, Scott. I definitely want to get a picture with you later. But tell me a little bit about the changes you've made to the user interface and the focus on making that more usable. I know there have been some changes. I want to hear about that.
So the question is about the user interface and how we've changed it and made it more usable. If it is in fact more usable, hopefully it is. To some extent, we've rearranged things in the menus to be somewhat more organized. Sometimes it confuses me because I expect things to be somewhere and they're not there. So I'm still getting used to it. But basically, the idea was to have fewer things in the menus, to have things that belong together, to kind of just get things easier to find and sort of more logical arrangement. So I don't know if bed leveling, I think that probably should be moved up to like a top level, because it's down in motion, I think now. I'd like to, it should be up there in configuration, or maybe if we had like a, what do you call it, setup menu. Actually, that's one of the things too is we really want to do, and I'll put that on my future plans list, is to have something where you go through a setup procedure, and that way you don't have to know all the exact numbers of your printer. You can go through a few procedures, do a pros, check the card, tell it where 0 is, or figure out your probe offset. You can do certain things with, if you have dual lens stops, on a dual X machine, it can figure out the length of your axis. There are a lot of things like that we can do. So automation of that kind of stuff and setup, things like that we definitely do. Any other queries? All right, well, I'd just like to let you know we are selling shirts to help support the project, and they look like this. And we have some other designs we hope to get out later, but this is what we got now. And so stop by our table and talk to us. If you have any questions for me directly, please come by and ask. Or if you have any suggestions or requests, feature requests, bug reports, I'm here for you. So just please